I spent a weekend with one of the most notorious killers in Texas, part 2. Trigger warning, this video does include descriptions of graphic violence. So after I'd spent about an hour alone with Erin Caffey, listening to her tell her version of the night of the crime, I had become genuinely convinced that she was innocent and had been wrongfully convicted. I was almost even outraged that she was there. I was like, what idiots put this poor, tiny little thing behind bars with all these adult criminals? But y'all, in a split second, the entire energy of the room changed. Erin was sitting across the table from me. Her shoulders were slumped forward and her head was down, and she was just kind of talking to me like this. And then all of a sudden, I'm leaning in, trying to hear her, and she does this. She locks eyes with me, and my stomach drops. Now, I told you in part 1 that she was a sheep in wolf's clothing. Well, I'll tell you, in that second, the wolf showed up in her eyes. The hairs on the back of my neck stood straight up, and I had this horrible, just sick feeling that, like, I'm in a predatory environment now. I finished the session with her, trying to keep my cool, even though at this point my body is just crawling with the creeps, you know? And I finished the session. I leave the prison, get in my car, and I go to my hotel room for the night. And I just sit in that hotel bed just processing, what did I see? And I told you I still had that rule for myself that I don't look up the crimes of people I work with. And I didn't. I rolled over, watched a little TV, and I fell asleep. But I didn't stay asleep long, y'all. I was woken up by this horrific panic attack. I'd had a nightmare about her eyes, those eyes, those dark, black, shark eyes looking at me. I had a dream about her face contorting and just evil surrounding me and being in the room with me. So I broke my rule. I looked her up, and it turns out that Erin Caffey organized, masterminded, and participated in the slaughter of her family. Her 2 elementary school-aged brothers were murdered with swords. Her mother, Penny, was shot multiple times and was nearly beheaded with the same sword. Her father, Terry, was shot multiple times, including several rounds to the face, but he actually survived the attack. Erin and her 3 accomplices lit the house on fire and fled the scene, and they were found and arrested the next day. And as for how it personally affected me, I truly believe that something dark and evil followed me home from the prison that night, and it stayed with me for years after that. I was haunted by night terrors, by nightmares, panic attacks, sleep paralysis, shadow figures. Not everybody can say that they have genuinely looked into the face of evil and had it look back into you, but I did, and it has never left me.